Hello. Today we turn to Kenya and take a look into the Finance Bill 2024 and the widespread protests it has sparked across the nation. From the streets of Nairobi to the halls of Parliament, we explore the implications of this contentious legislation. I'm Cynthia Nivyoandi, and this is the African News Network. On Tuesday, Kenyans gathered in the Nairobi Central Business District to march to Parliament for the Occupy Parliament protests, opposing the Finance Bill 2024. Organized through social media under the hashtag Reject Finance Bill 2024, which has since crossed the 2 million mark on X, this movement seeks to get MPs to reject the bill's opposed tax measures, including insiders compiling personal mobile numbers of several MPs shared with the public in a push to influence them into rejecting the bill. But what are the key components of this bill, and why has it ignited such fierce opposition? The Finance Bill 2024 proposes several new taxes, adjustments to the current tax structure, and extensions of existing tax policies. Historically, fiscal measures like these have been met with resistance in Kenya, reflecting a broader struggle over economic policy and social justice. The bill's most contentious provisions include a proposed 16% VAT on bread, sugar transportation, financial services, foreign exchange transactions, cancer treatment, motor vehicle ownership, tax on sanitary pads, diapers, and a digital tax. These taxes are seen by many as excessive and exacerbating the already high cost of living. To provide some more historical context, President William Ruto, who has been in office since September 2022, has faced numerous challenges in implementing his economic policies. His administration has been marked by efforts to boost revenue while reducing reliance on external borrowing.
And about debts, and about what we need to do about it. This is the best thing that happened to Kenya, that we are having a conversation on issues that are of the nature of our country. Today, Kenyans know there is something called finance bill. Today, Kenyans know that we have a debt problem.
While the government argues that these measures are necessary to stabilize the economy and reduce debt service costs, critics contend that they disproportionately affect the lower and middle income Kenyans, worsening economic hardship. The high cost of living, driven by increased taxes in essential goods and services, has fueled widespread discontent. Moreover, the ongoing protests suggest that many Kenyans feel the economic policies have failed to alleviate their struggles and instead have deepened their financial burdens. Has this approach by Ruto's administration truly benefited Kenyans, or has it deepened economic hardship? On Tuesday, police officers used tear gas to disperse Occupy Parliament activists attempting to gather in various locations within Nairobi's Central Business District. Clashes erupted between activists and both uniformed and undercover police officers along Kimathi Street, Kenyatta Avenue, City Hallway, Moi Avenue, and Tom Mboya Street, resulting in over 350 arrests. Predominantly millennials and Gen Z protesters, dressed in black and carrying anti-finance bill placards, chanted, "Reject the Finance Bill" and "Ruto must go" as they marched through the CBD, aiming to reach Parliament. This raises significant questions. Why did the police respond with such force to peaceful protesters? And what does this say about the government's tolerance for dissent? Are these measures necessary for maintaining public order, or do they undermine the democratic right to peaceful protest? Nairobi Police Chief Adamson Bungei banned the planned demonstrations, citing improper notification by the organizers. He claimed that no valid permit had been applied for, despite organizers' assertions to the contrary. Bungei reported that the police station received an outdated and faulty document from June of the previous year, which did not meet the requirement for protest permission. In response to the protests, President Ruto announced revisions to the finance bill, aiming to address public concerns. Key changes included the removal of the 16% VAT on bread and other essential goods, as well as the elimination of increased mobile money transfer fees and excise duty on vegetable oil. But are these revisions sufficient to address the public's grievances, or are they merely superficial changes that fail to tackle deeper economic issues? Despite these amendments, many citizens and opposition leaders remain dissatisfied. Opposition groups, including the Azimio la Umoja coalition, argue that the bill still contains measures that will worsen economic hardships. Are these revisions enough to quell public unrest, or do they indicate a more profound disconnect between the government and its people? On Thursday, protests persisted nationwide. The streets of Nairobi were scenes of chaos as riot police used tear gas and sprayed colored water cannons to disperse thousands of demonstrators protesting the government's plans to raise $2.7 billion through new taxes. Police also blocked their path to parliament. The reasons for this aggressive stance remain unclear, as requests for comments from police spokesperson Rasila Onyango and Nairobi Police Commander Adamson Bungei went unanswered. Thursday's protests saw Kenyans take to the streets nationwide, including cities and towns such as Eldoret, Kisumu, Nyeri, Meru, Nanyuki, and coastal Mombasa and Kilifi. However, the Finance Bill 2024 passed its second reading in the National Assembly on Thursday, with 204 votes in favor and 115 against, and now heads to its third hearing. This approval has sparked further outrage, particularly among the youth who have been at the forefront of the protests. As the bill moves closer to becoming law, we must consider its broader implications. Will these new taxes help reduce the budget deficit and fund vital development projects, as proponents argue? Or will they place an undue burden on a population already struggling with high living costs? The youth-led protests highlight a critical tension in Kenyan society: the need for fiscal responsibility versus the public's capacity to bear additional economic burdens. These young Kenyans, many of whom are millennials and Gen Z, represent a generation that is increasingly vocal and politically active. Their engagement in this protest movement speaks volumes about their frustrations and aspirations. Kimani Kuria, chair of the National Assembly Finance Committee, emphasized, and I quote, "While we understand the concerns of our fellow Kenyans, it's crucial to recognize the need for these tax measures. We've made significant amendments to address public concerns, and we believe this bill will ultimately benefit the country." President William Ruto, speaking in Garissa on Thursday, urged MPs to pass the bill, stating that passing the finance bill is vital for securing employment for our intern teachers and doctors and for financing the school feeding program. As the bill advances through the legislative process, the opposition coalition, Azimio la Umoja, has pledged to continue opposing the proposed tax measures. They argue that the bill fails to address the root causes of Kenya's economic problems, emphasizing, "We will continue to mobilize and stand with the people of Kenya to ensure their voices are heard and their interests protected." This is a pivotal moment for Kenya, with the future of the Finance Bill 2024 hanging in the balance and the nation at a crossroads. As we look to the future, how will this conflict shape Kenya's political landscape and economic policy? The youth-led protests and the government's response will likely have lasting impacts on the country's social and political fabric. We will continue to monitor and report on the developments as they unfold. Thank you for joining us today on the African News Network. Stay connected with us on our website, mobile app, and social media platforms.